Hey there. Y'all ever wonder what training progress actually looks like over a whole training block? What type of improvements you can see, and how to analyze the data and learn from it for your next training phase? Don't worry, I got you. In this video, I'm going to share my training progress by the numbers from my previous 3-month training phase, by analyzing the data from my actual training log. This video is the second part of a series. In the first one, I summarized the data at a very high level in a shorter, less data-rich format. So if you have a pretty short attention span, go check that one out first. In this one, we're going to deep dive into my training log, exercise by exercise. So why am I looking at this data in the first place, and why am I sharing it with you? Well, I believe it will be valuable for you for 3 reasons. First, I want to illustrate the power of tracking your progress in a training journal, to see and analyze your progress over a whole training cycle, and how the tiny little changes session to session, which can seem imperceptible at times, add up and compound into something substantial. The takeaway message is not the exact numbers, but that by observing and measuring your workouts over time, change is inevitable. You will make progress. Second, I'd like to add some anecdotal reference data to the field. The point is not to compare my specific numbers with yours, whether higher or lower. Obviously, this is not a scientific study. There's loads of observational bias and no controls in these data. But by showing you how much I progressed on my training, you can have a reference point. Not for what's possible, because I'm definitely not pushing the limits of strength and endurance here, but a reference point for what's probable, because you, just like me, are most likely to achieve results right near the average. However, making average gains year on year soon becomes incredible. Will transform your life, and especially stand out in today's society where people train and move less and less every year. Third, I want to share a side of training and fitness that I believe is a bit more typical than what you typically see displayed online. Often online fitness culture shows us one of two extremes. On one end of the spectrum, you have the hackers who promise really attractive and really unrealistic results with minimal time and effort, like your classic 30-day 6-pack shred challenge. On the other end, you have the type of folks who wear their pain and struggle as a badge of honor. They often end up alienating you by overemphasizing the amount of difficulty and dedication required to progress in fitness and sport. While this mindset can certainly be valuable, I don't think it's a good match for the average person who doesn't have elite athlete level goals. Moderate dedication, time commitment, and steady results are a better fit for most people. Less often showcased is this middle area. Normal people, like you and I, without supernatural levels of drive and determination or even physical talent, just making slow and steady progress in fitness. By sharing with you my own progress, I intend to demonstrate that the real gains made by the majority of people actually out there training isn't just a highlight reel of flashy accomplishments. It's slow and steady progress, PR after PR, rep max after rep max, over months and years. And this occurs between the level ups and the achievement unlocks. If you stick with it, those awesome moments of unlocking new abilities, skills, and aha moments when everything suddenly all clicks do happen, but that's not what the day-to-day of training is like, so that's not where you should derive your primary source of motivation. All right, let's actually get into the data. So first I'm going to explain all the data elements that I've picked out for you and what they mean, and then we'll go through these examples in a little bit less detail through all of the different exercises. So the first exercise here is the incline barbell bench press. So first we have the first set I did during my training cycle, and then we'll have the last set that I did in my training cycle. In this case, I've included 2 last sets because the very final one was actually a deload workout, so it wasn't totally representative of the actual volume I was doing at that time. So we can see on the first session, I started out at 48 kilograms, doing sets of 12. And then by the last session, I was on to 52 kilograms for sets of 12. And so here you can see my personal records throughout the time. On the left, we have a graph of the rep maxes increasing throughout the training cycle. And on the right, we have a specific list of the PRs. And I've included the personal records here because I think it's really useful to see that when I'm working with double progression, I'm always trying to increase the reps or the intensity with every set and every session. So that's happening every single workout, guaranteed. However, it's also interesting to see when I achieve a new personal best on a rep max throughout the session. So that's not happening as frequently as every single session, but it is happening consistently throughout the cycle. In this example, I achieved 5 different rep maxes. The first was a 13 rep max at 48 on the very first session, and the final was a 12 rep max of 54 kilograms on the very last session. So those will be here for you guys to look at, but I'm going to talk most about the numbers at the bottom that I've calculated from these. So in the first workout, I calculate the workout volume, which is essentially the total weight moved for that exercise in that workout. In In this case, it's 3,168 kilograms. The idea with this progression model over time is to be building up volume as you progress intensity, so I've pulled out the hardest set of each workout to compare those. So in the first workout here, the hardest set was 48 kilograms for 13 reps for 624 kilograms of volume. In the final workout, interestingly, the workout volume had increased to 3,310 kilograms, and the hardest set actually had exactly the same amount of volume, but I'd increased the intensity by 4 kilograms to 52 kilograms for 12 reps. So that was the first workout. And the final workout, which worked out to a 4.5% increase in workout volume, 8.3% increase in intensity, and that's hardest set intensity in this case. And with actual personal records, I went from a 12 rep max at 48 kilograms to 54 kilograms, which is a 12.5% increase on that 12 rep max. All right, so we'll move on to the extra ones, but I'll talk a little bit less about them because you already know what the data fields mean. The second exercise we have here are ring dips. So in this one, I've included my body weight as well in the first and last workout because, of course, when you're doing dips, you're primarily lifting your body weight plus any added weight. So on the first workout, I weighed 81.8 kilograms, and on the last workout, I weighed 84.7 kilograms. So I gained about 3 kilograms in that 2-month period. Hopefully some of it was muscle. So that, of course, is relevant to determine the volume and the intensity that I actually lifted. First workout, I did 2,888 kilograms of volume with a hardest set of 7 kilograms added. And on the final workout, when I weighed 3 kilograms more, my hardest set was 11 kilograms added for 7 reps, which resulted in a 3.4% increase in workout volume, 7.7% in hardest set intensity, and my 7 rep max went from 88.8 total kilograms to 95.7 total kilograms, which is that 7.7% increase. Okay, next we have the dumbbell lat pullover. This one I'm actually trying to work in the 10 to 12 rep range, but you'll see at the beginning that I started off with a little bit too light of weight and I overshot the rep range quite a bit. But anywho, we can see in the first workout, I did a hardest set of 22 kilograms for 16 reps. The hardest set from my final workout was 32 kilograms for 11 reps. So overall, I increased the workout volume by 7.7%, with the workout intensity increased by 45.4%. And that's represented as my 12 rep max going from 22 kilograms to 32 kilograms. If you look at these numbers just by themselves, you think I get a large strength adaptation in this rather than a volume increase. However, I think this is mostly indicative of starting out just a bit too light so that my rep ranges was a little bit high, but then it decreased over time as I got closer to the weight that was hard for 10 to 12 reps. I mean, this is just something about programming. If you've never done an exercise before, it takes a couple workouts to find the right working weight for you. And that's just going to be part of the game. But that's why you keep a training log so that the next time you use that movement in the training cycle, you'll know exactly where to start, so you'll be getting the stimulus you want faster, and thus you'll make gains faster as well. Next exercise is external rotations for the rotator cuff. You'll notice on this one, the reps that I have recorded do not match the calculated values. That's because, as you'll see, this is done as a mechanical advantage drop set. So it's essentially the same exercise, but in 3 different arm positions, back to back to back as a mechanical drop set. So when I record 8 here, that's actually 24 real repetitions for volume's sake. So in this one, the first session, I did 2.5 kilograms for 27 reps, and the hardest set in the last session was 3 kilograms for 21 reps. That means I increased the workout volume by just under 1% and took my 24 rep max from 2.5 to 3 kilograms, which is our 20% 24 rep max. There we go. And again, as you'll see with the others, throughout the training cycle of roughly 2.5 months, I'm pretty consistently setting rep max PBs throughout this whole thing. And I think that's realistic for most people. Next, we have the reverse bicep curls. So on this one, I mean to be working in the 10 to 15 rep range, but a couple of them I'm able to do a little bit more, as you'll see. So for the first workout, my hardest set was 20 kilograms for 14 reps. And by the final session, I was doing 22 kilograms for 16 reps. So this is always really satisfying. Then you see that as a result of a training cycle, you both increased the intensity and the volume per set. When you do that, you know you've gotten stronger, and it's very likely that you probably built some muscle as well. That's kind of the holy grail when you're doing double progression, that you've actually done it long enough to progress both of the variables and not one at the expense of the other. So this was a 31.4% increase in workout volume, which is pretty massive, and a 10% increase in intensity. taking my 16 rep max from 20 kilograms to 22. Next, we have the barbell upright row, a lovely shoulder exercise. First session, we're working with the hardest set of 20 kilos for 19 reps. And the final workout, I was doing 24 kilos for 20 reps. So you'll notice this one was a little bit higher rep range than any of the previous ones, just because it's a bit hard to get the form right without sort of tweaking your shoulders, in my opinion. So that resulted in a 31.8% increase in workout volume and a 20% increase in intensity, taking my 21 rep max from 20 kilograms to 24 kilograms. So now, finally, I bring you to the barbell overhead press. And this one's a little bit interesting. As you see, there's a little bit more information on the screen. And this is because this is the only exercise in my program that I had on 2 different workout days, on my heavy day and on my light day. So I have it in 2 different rep ranges. So I have the heavy day where I'm working in the 3 to 5 rep range, and the light day where I'm working in the 10 to 12 rep range. And so the heavy day is meant to push my strength higher, and the light day is meant to assist in pushing my strength higher by getting a lot more volume. So first, let's start with the heavy day here. On my first workout, I did 50 kilograms for 5 reps as a hardest set, and then on the final workout, I did 54 kilograms for 5 reps as the hardest set. So that was 28.8% increase in workout volume with an 8% increase in intensity. And I took my 5 rep max from 50 kilos to 54 kilos. Then looking at the light session, where I'm focusing on the 10 to 12 rep range, the first workout, my hardest set was 40 kilograms for 10 reps, and by the last session, I did 44 kilograms for 11 reps. So here you can see I had a 29.1% increase in volume and a 10% increase in intensity. And as for the why of including 2 different rep ranges of the same movement in the same training cycle, you can see the idea here is that I'm working on strength for one of them. I'm working on a 3 or a 4 or a 5 rep maximum, but the total workout volume there isn't very high, as it can be because I get very tired. Here you can see it's 1,572 kilograms on the last one, whereas if you compare that to the 10 to 12 repetition day, the final workout I did 2,376 kilograms of volume. So that's like almost 50% more volume. By including different rep ranges, you can focus on different aspects of technique and get different volume stimulus and different strength stimulus. So here's all of that data on one screen for you. I know it's a lot to look at, but we'll just zoom in on the conclusions here. So in just under 3 months of most of these exercises, with roughly 2 weeks off in November for family holiday, I completed about 3 workouts per week, but some of the weeks it was 2. On a 5 rep max, I got a plus 8% intensity. On a 7 rep max, I got plus 7.7% intensity. I averaged 10.8% intensity increase on an 11 to 16 rep max, and I averaged a 20% intensity increase on a 21 to 24 rep max. Overall, my workout volume average increase was 17.18%. So these are my numbers, and I think it's pretty interesting. Let me know in the comments what type of gains you made in your last cycle. I think improvements like that should be achievable for anyone. I have been training for 4 or 5 years, but if you look at my numbers on the pushing movements, you'll notice they're pretty low. Most of my training history is focusing much more on pulling movements and climbing related movements. So I'm actually quite new to pushing movements, which is why my numbers are not impressive at all. So for me, I'd say I'm somewhere around like a late beginner to early intermediate in pushing strength. So these are the type of numbers I'm getting in a roughly 2 to 3 month workout training plan. But I think these are realistic numbers, and you add numbers like this up quarter on quarter, year on year, you'll see pretty amazing things. Overall, final conclusions are also that there was a much higher improvement on isolations than on compounds, both in the volume and intensity, with the exception of the overhead press. So on my 2 heavier strength movements, only the overhead press also had a volume day. And I progressed 25% more in the heavy day volume on this and 0.3% more in intensity. So I think this strategy of having both a heavy day and a light day for the exact same movement seemed to pay dividends in the strength field. I'm definitely going to think about putting more volume work on my heavier movements in the future. So final caveat is that this is not every single exercise I did. I also had a lot of pulling movements that I worked on during this time. However, I rotated frequently through them because I've been dealing from a little bit of elbow tendonitis, as I mentioned in almost all of my videos. So there just wasn't enough data for comparison, so I omitted those. I also did some weekly rock climbing, bouldering, jogging, and free diving. So the things I'm sharing in this video are just the things that I measured rigorously. But it would be a massive underestimate of the total volume of physical activity I actually did during this time period.